Borda, welcome. So I think one of the big news stories this year is which is going to be the biggest shooter, Battlefield 1 or Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. Maybe it's going to be neither, because Titanfall 2 is ready to make its presence felt in later this year in October, and it's finally going multi-platform, moving away from the Xbox and PC exclusivity that it enjoyed a few years ago. Now this is really interesting because we've just had the alpha release, and the first week did have some mixed feedback, mostly towards the negative, where I think a lot of people didn't really like the fluidity of battle. I don't think they really enjoyed it as much as they thought they would, and I think there were a lot of concerns. But having said all of that, it's very clear that Respawn also listened very clearly to their community, because the second week of the alpha was a huge improvement. Not only did we get an additional mode, we had a bit more time with the game, we also got to see some more of that fluidity, that slickness, and I think it just felt better as well. They got rid of some of the latency issues that people were complaining about, the long wait times in the lobby and the lag, and it felt really good. I mean, coming away from this beta the second week, I would actually say that Titanfall 2 is really shaping up to be a pretty solid online experience. And also, you've got to bear in mind, this is the first time that PlayStation owners are getting to play this game, so this is an entirely new experience for them. And essentially, it's still as fun as it always was. You can jump into a mech, you can go around stomping around, you can blast people to pieces, you can scale the walls, you can do heightened jumps, you can do all kinds of things. You can even do that awesome eject from the mech and just fire down on your opponents from the skies. Titanfall 2 is still kind of adamant on the punchiness and the quality that was really enjoyable in Titanfall 1. Having said all of that, I don't feel it's as slick and as polished as Titanfall 1. I think for me it lacks some of the grandiose quality that made that game so great in the first place. For me it just seems to be something a little off. I mean, obviously this is an alpha, so we can only base impressions on that, but it didn't quite feel to me, it didn't connect to me in the same way. It was still very enjoyable and I still love my time with it, and I think that this for me is going to be a multiplayer game of choice irrespective of that, because I really enjoyed the original. I'm almost certainly going to dump into this one. But, you know, it's funny because the game just didn't quite have the same impact on me this time. Perhaps it was the original all of Titanfall from the first time around. Perhaps because it was so fresh and new, and now it's not quite as new, that it's not really clicking with me as much. But it's still a very enjoyable first-person shooter, even if it doesn't quite feel as monumentous as it did the first time around. And essentially, yeah, you get your mech-style exoskeletons. The pilot also has enhanced ability. He was a bit easier to kill in battle, but then you have things like invisibility cloaking and the improved parkour. You can have the zip lining, jumping, and the wall running with the jetpack. But it's interesting that because the pace of the parkour has been slightly slower compared to its predecessor, and perhaps that's what really is kind of moving me away, because I thought for me the parkour really reminded me of Mirror's Edge so much, and Mirror's Edge is such a fast-paced, enjoyable game. You know, you don't almost have time to think, you've just got to react. And the fact that Respawn have slowed it slightly, perhaps that's where I'm feeling the disconnect, and perhaps that's where I feel I have to readjust and get back into the game a little bit. But it's still the same as before. I mean, you have the sliding mechanics, the pulse blade, the throwing knife, the grappling hooks, which is a really cool feature where you can actually jump up and get to additional areas. And I think that's what I've always loved about Titanfall, is the ability to just move around the maps in such a different way, and like it feels so free roam, like you're not just confined to like a box space. So Titanfall 2 definitely captures all of that. And there is a single player story campaign which you get a very brief taste of in this alpha. But I think the multiplayer for me is really still clicking. I think that this has given me just about enough of a taste for the main game that I'm looking forward to it, and I can't wait to get back into it in October. But for now, yeah, I'm still a little bit on the fence with Titanfall 2. I've enjoyed it, and I've also got some concerns about it. I guess we'll have to wait and see what Respawn do with this feedback from this beta now. But certainly, based on the way they reacted from the first week to the second, it's very obvious and very promising to see how much they react to their community. But we'll stay tuned to this. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next time.